Welcome to today's episode, the podcast where we discuss the most recent installment of a different series every show. It is Friday, October 10th, and on this World Egg Day, we're checking in on what Charlie Hunnam has been up to since Shantaram. How many projects do you think you've seen of his?
Oh, I mean, I've tracked his career. I've seen Green Street Hooligans, Pacific Rim, Sons of Anarchy is one of my favorite TV shows. I never saw Lost City of Z, but I've always been interested because I know he got critical acclaim for that role.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what he swiped from Sons of Anarchy, the set, when he left?
Oh, I mean, I think he took his motorcycle, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He took his motorcycle, he took his jacket, he took some rings. What do you think he'd want to take from the monster set?
Maybe the hat that he wears.
I would not want to take a
top
thing
hat?
from this show. So, True Crime 2025. We've reviewed shows like Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox. The 8th and final episode just came out October 1st. Happy Face, which was canceled, also 8 episodes. And now we're at Monster, the Ed Gein Story.
Yeah, and I know that the Jeffrey Dahmer monster was like immensely popular, and I think it got good reviews. And then the Menendez brothers one came out like last year, right? And that got a lot of controversy for like incestuous undertones. I
You
think.
remember it mostly correct. Yes, Ryan Murphy has always been a polarizing person, but even with the Menendez brothers Monsters season, he got a lot of viewership. So that's why we have a 3rd season of Monster and also a 4th season in the works. You only watched the first episode of this. It's loosely biographical, fictionalized, sensationalized. There's inaccuracies, fabrications, a bit exploitative if you ask certain people. More loose, I would say, than even a series like Smoke, which didn't even bill itself as biographical. It said it took inspiration from John Leonard Orr. Instead, here we actually see the character of Ed Gein.
Right.
His name is being used. So they're specifically trying to be like, no, this is the real Ed Gein.
From the poster, I got like because I'm talking specifically about the one with Charlie Hunnam where he's just kind of looking at and it's like a green room around him. He was giving me Barry Keoghan vibes, and I was wondering if maybe Barry Keoghan, the guy from Dunkirk, he kind of thrives.
Is it Keoghan or Kogan?
It might be Kogan, but
Okay.
he thrives in the disturbing, salt burn and then killing of a sacred deer. He's even going to be the Joker. But I was wondering, like, with Ryan Murphy and how much horror he does, that's going to happen down the pipeline at some point.
Creepy smiles, because that's what you're talking about
Right.
in the poster. We've seen it from everything from Stephen King to this, so true or fictionalized horror. What do you know about Ed Gein?
Nothing. This was literally
So
my
when you
first introduction.
when you heard the name Butcher of Plainfield or Plainfield Ghoul, you didn't know who that was.
Yeah, I did not know.
Same here. I really don't do a lot of serial killer stuff, so this was kind of an interesting deep dive that I don't want to like recreate. But he was called in the papers when I was looking at that shy little bachelor recluse, a hoarder, bachelor farmer, bashful Ed. He was 51 years old when he was finally arrested. I'm not going to play light on that type of spoiler. Like, we're going to talk about stuff that he did, just not stuff that happened in the show as far as like Ryan Murphy actually, Ryan Murphy's not the main writer of this season, but whatever, Ian Brennan decided to stick in there.
Right, I saw that. So even though Ryan Murphy has nothing to do with the show, it does still say in association with Ryan Murphy Pictures.
Right, so like Ryan Murphy is who they used to get Charlie Hunnam aboard.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? Because Ryan Murphy did Dr. Odyssey, and then if you remember, the pilot we did for that was directed by Paris Barclay. Paris Barclay executively produced, I think he even wrote, definitely directed a lot of episodes of Sons of Anarchy. So, I mean, that's how the connection, I think, happened.
Well, yeah, he showed up 15 minutes to his pitch, Ryan Murphy did, and then he just was so pizzazz-worthy, like pushy towards it that like Charlie Hunnam jumped in before reading, I think, the full script. The same for the person who plays his mom in the first episode. But also, I just want to point out that Ed Gein was, at the time, a handyman and a babysitter. That comes into play later on and what we'll talk about.
Yeah, they never even show that in the first episode.
Part of the reason I think Brian Murphy also decided not to do this season is he's so busy. He's also coming out with the 911 Nashville. But yeah, rank these horror movies for me.
Okay.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Psycho, The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, okay. Well, I never saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but Psycho I would definitely put at number 1. Silence of the Lambs, I think it's a good movie, but I'm not as big as some people are. I'd put that number 2, and then Texas Chainsaw Massacre is kind of not applicable.
So Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Norman Bates from Psycho, and then Buffalo Bill, that's not Hannibal, but yeah, the other guy, the one who was creating the woman suit. All three of them are based off of Ed Gein.
Oh,
So
wow.
in all the reviews, obviously, those are the three staples. Like he inspired all of these horror figures.
I think I see mostly Buffalo Bill, probably.
Really,
That
even in the ending shot, because I did catch the ending of the first episode, and you do get that attic thing with his mom's like place, and there's the
Yeah,
creaky walk. What is it called? A rocking chair, right?
right, and
Hmm.
it also ends, Psycho and this very similar with, like, them kinda smiling at the
And also
very
just the
end.
obsession with the mom's
Yeah.
character. Buffalo Bill, I don't know if he was
I
that into his
I
mom.
mean, more in the, like, kind of, because Buffalo Bill, from what I remember with the movie, was very, recluse, like, he didn't talk to anyone, he was very awkward with people.
Yes. Okay. So you've been watching some other Hitchcock movies lately, right?
Uh-huh, North by Northwest, Vertigo, I think, and then there was one, Dial M for Murder.
And Psycho's still top of the
Psycho
charts?
is still, yeah, number
Do
1 for
you
me.
you remember that Psycho came out almost like immediately after the book was published, right?
Mhm.
So what's interesting about that is that the author Robert Bloch lived 50 miles away from Gein, and Gein got arrested in November 16th of 1957. The book Psycho was published in April 10th of 1959.
Oh,
So
wow, okay.
like less than 2 years later, right?
Yeah.
And then the movie came out right after that. But I don't even think like we talk about how Capote was really the person who set off the true crime novels and all that stuff. That didn't happen until like the 60s though. I think it happened kind of within culture before that. Look at To Kill a Mockingbird. And do you remember what the boogeyman's name is in that?
Oh, no,
Boo Radley.
yeah.
So Boo Radley is this recluse, and he represents kind of the fear of the book. And obviously, they go a completely different direction, making him a good guy there. But like, I feel like culturally, it was already permeating across all the divides. The fact that these serial killers, this obsession of people and their morbid curiosity wanting to look into it, because To Kill a Mockingbird came out in 1960, which again was within 3 years of Gein being arrested.
So you think that it was kind of bubbling under the surface before we got
No, I
kind of
think
an
it was just
explosion in
there.
it? Okay.
I think it just existed. So yeah, this show premiered Tuesday, September 24th, 2025, with the first episode, Mother, that has an exclamation mark. All the letters are capitalized. Interesting choice of a first title. I will start you off on a description on a remote Wisconsin farm. It's in the 1940s. There's the Gein family, sorry.
Yeah, and there's 3, people, Ed Gein, Augusta Gein, and Henry Gein, and let's start with Augusta. She's the mom of
Okay,
Ed
played
and
by
Henry.
Laurie Metcalf. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's from Lady Bird. Did you recognize her?
No, I did not.
The Dropout, Roseanne, The Norm Show. She's been around a lot of places. Yeah.
She is playing the evil mom here, like, as evil as you can get. Strict religious mother, she does not want her sons to even marry or touch a woman ever in her
And
life,
she
in their
says
life, yeah.
that in the first
Yeah,
few
she's like,
scenes?
she tells Ed just straight up, like, "I never ever want you even talking to a woman, like, it's sinful."
Why?
Because she's very religious and she believes that it's like a
So
sin
she's
if
like
they even.
praying all the time? And
Yes.
is it gloomy inside the house? I assume that would
Yes,
not
it's
be a
very, very dark, there's not
fun place
even
to live.
that many lights.
Is she at all like Nurse Ratched?
Nurse Ratched. No, because Ratched had at least, like, some type of
Don't say moral
logic.
compass
No,
because,
no, no, not moral compass, but logic to what she was doing.
right.
Here, it's like, Augusta's just crazy.
I just see them both as like control freaks, you know,
Mhm.
and Ryan Murphy, he either has damsel in distresses
Right.
or he has control freaks. And it just for women characters. And it just seems like something that happens in all of his shows or spin offs of versions of his shows.
And then I would say that when you compare, like, Ed and Henry, they're 2 polar opposites. Henry has left the family. In fact, Augusta doesn't even consider him her son anymore because he is now
It's like
wanting to
estranged.
yeah, he's wanting to marry someone named Ginny, and she is not for that at all. She doesn't want her son to marry someone. And then Ed, he is someone that's very awkward. He doesn't talk a lot. He has kind of a high-pitched voice, and he is being
Kind of.
100% controlled by Augusta.
Okay. Is there any mention of a father?
No, but I would believe that the father is dead. That's my guess,
Yeah,
at
he had a
least.
heart attack in real life, and he was supposed to be pretty abusive as well. So I can't imagine that that was a fun childhood. But it does sound like Henry was the most, yeah, I guess he escaped part of what his mom
Right.
was putting into the head of Ed. And the big events in this episode. The first thing I have listed here is Henry's accident.
That was about 15 minutes in.
So what happens before those 15 minutes?
We see that Ed Gein, he is sneaking into his mom's room and he's trying on her, like, her underwear and
Right.
puts on a bra. He puts a rope around his neck, steps on a stool and starts jerking off and then gets caught by his mom.
Oh, okay.
Kind of classic Ryan Murphy, where it's just there to shock the audience.
Okay, and
Yeah.
I assume you've never seen Charlie Hunnam do anything like that in his
No,
performances
that was
before.
definitely not like Jax Teller.
Great, let's jump into Henry's accident then. His brother shows up. I don't know if he's still living there or if he's moved out at
I
that
think
point.
he's moved out because he does it so that Augusta doesn't know that he's there. They're meeting in the farmhouse.
In the barn?
Yeah, but in a barn.
Right.
It reminded me a lot of Pearl in
Yes.
that way.
Yeah, for sure.
In fact, it even starts off with barn doors opening up, and I think Pearl starts very similar. But anyways, Ed.
Also a similar time period, at least within 50 years of Pearl World, not in modern time.
Right, again, because this is like early 1940s. But yeah, so Henry, he goes to Ed and he's like, look, you have to get out of here. Mom is controlling you. I'm going to be marrying Ginny and I am going to be leaving town. And Ed is kind of like thrown off by this. He's also hearing how Henry is insulting his mom. He's like, you don't understand like how terrible she is. Like, you have to get out of here. I'm
Do you know
worried
where
for
this
you.
is headed? Like, as you're watching the brother come clean to his other brother and be like, hey, man, I want to help you out. Can you tell that Charlie Hunnam's character is just getting madder and madder?
Yeah, well, you can tell that he was definitely being affected. I was not I was not thinking that he was going to grab a log like he did and just
Plank?
hit him at the
Yeah.
back of the head, killing him in like one hit. Yeah.
Did you expect him to get up?
That actually had to be one of my favorite parts. I knew that it was fake because Ed at that point starts freaking out. He starts running back to the house. He looks back and suddenly, yeah, Henry in his mind gets up and he has a change of heart. He's like, you know what? Mom is exactly right. I'm not going to marry someone. Don't worry about it. Has an evil smile on his face and like closes the barn doors.
I didn't see it as evil smile. In that scene, I saw it as more just like he was cautious, like he was scared of his brother. So I was wondering if he was still alive for a second, and maybe they were just hinting
Oh
at
no,
what
if
Ed
you
would eventually become.
if you look back at that scene, it's very obvious that Henry is like
Yeah,
happy.
I didn't catch the first part
Yeah.
of it like you. So then after like he comes back the next day, and the dinner that he has with his mom that night is very reminiscent to me of Andor and that
Huh.
one character with his mom and their relationship because he'd always have dinner with them, one of the evil
You
characters.
can also compare it to something like the Penguin, definitely.
Sure,
Right.
absolutely. The Penguin is probably somewhat based off this, at least the most recent version.
And when they're having dinner, I think that Augusta is asking, or actually Ed asks if Augusta has seen Henry at all in the past couple days. And that's where she says, I haven't spoken to him in the last week. I don't even consider him my son anymore at this point.
So he says no, he hasn't seen Henry.
She says no.
But,
Yeah.
okay, he asked her.
Yes.
But why would he be asking her unless he somehow knew that he was still dead?
I think that it was just in his mind because he wasn't sure. He even said that when he was going to stage how Henry died because his body is still just laying in the barn this
And he
whole
finds
time.
it the next
Right,
morning.
and he's like, I'm not, he even says it like out loud to Henry's lifeless body. He's like, I wasn't sure if this was a dream. I wasn't sure if I had thought about this. I didn't mean for this to happen.
Right.
And also, I think it's important to know that right before Ed hit Henry over the head with the log, he said, got you. So it was supposed to be kind of like a joke. Now, I don't know if he meant to actually kill him or if that was just kind of him maybe getting a little bit too excited or something.
Right. In real life, nothing substantiated showing that he actually did kill his brother. However, there is some room to give Ian Brennan, the guy who wrote the show, that leeway because when they did the initial reporting, they did note that this body was not burned up, it was not hot, and that it did have some bruising on its head.
That was,
So
yeah.
there were some people who came out immediately being like, this is so inaccurate. He didn't make his first kill until much later. But I can kind of understand this version of events if they want to really, sell the idea that this guy became a killer when he did a Cain and Abel thing.
The thing was, I just can't get over it because Ed, he sets up this story. He starts a fire near their house.
Right. He tries to cover it up.
Right, he drags Henry's body and he brings it close to the fire, and then
he goes and
he
tells
goes to his mom and he's like, "Look, you need to look for his body. I'll go into town and get
Well,
some
he says,
people."
yeah, Henry was here and a fire started. We need to do something about it. In real life, he never went to ask for help. There was a fire was started and the fire department saw it and came in, you
Oh,
know?
okay,
So it
that
was
makes
a
sense.
little bit different. However, when they got there, he led them directly to the body. Is that the way it is in the show?
Yeah, it is. But the thing that I couldn't get over was that we cut to the morgue and we see that Henry's body is on a table, and they say, the bruises are a little peculiar, but really he died because of asphyxiation.
That's the part that seems like it might be actually true with
Yes,
the real events.
but the problem is that the way that's portrayed in the show, like, Ed hits Henry. Like,
Yeah.
this is a bashed in head. And I understand they wouldn't do maybe like a full analysis if that's what they thought would happen, but really, you just have to check the back of his head to see a huge gash.
So I think the two things you have to remember about the monster series is that it depends on the factors of perversion. That's
Yeah.
what guides it. And also ostentatious, like, how could no one realize what's going on? You know?
Right.
Disbelief. So that scene holds both of them. You're supposed to get enraged by it. You're supposed to be put off by the fact that they didn't ask for an autopsy. But moving forward, so they do find out his brother has passed away, and now it's only his mom in the house. What was the scariest moment of the entire series or the entire episode to you?
Probably the part where the brother got up because I was like, what is
That was
this?
scary to me. I thought it was when he came back home
And
and the
mom,
mom
yeah.
was screaming. And he didn't, and we just thought she was in agony because of her loss of her son. But then as he gets closer to her and she turns her face, you realize she had a stroke
Yeah.
and she's unable to, like, that was too real almost. Most of this stuff is so like fake and but that was like, that could happen in a moment of stress, and how terrible that would be to your psyche if your parent had a stroke the second that someone in your family died. That would be like losing two people at
It'd be a
once.
terrible week for sure. But we also see
Yeah.
that like Ed, he's like very obsessed with this comic he was given at the very beginning of the episode, The Bitch of Butchenwald, which was based off of like an actual person. And there's like a weird dream sequence that's given right after Ed sees that his mom has had this stroke.
Right. Can we talk about the Nazi stuff a little bit later
Yeah, sure.
on? I just want to concentrate on, like, you have his mom who has the first stroke,
Right.
but then they immediately start cutting to her getting better,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, she has like a doctor coming in
And he's taking care of.
yeah, and they're doing tests, and I think that one of the doctors tells Ed to keep her blood thin and that she can't be
Yeah,
going
back then
out.
it was like, oh, let's put a leech
Yeah.
on it to secure them. Yeah. So Ed is taking care of his mom. Is he still doing these like really sick things behind her back? Like, is
I
this
mean, yeah, that's I think that it's definitely implied.
okay? And so then, what causes the mom's second stroke?
Yeah, so the mom starts screaming about how they have to go to the Smith's house. The Smiths, she thinks, owes them money because they're planting, I guess, like gardens or things on their land, and they're supposed to get $10. This was a very odd scene to me because Ed is like, Mom, I'll go over there and like you have to stay inside. And she demands, she's like, no, you won't be able to get the money from them. I have to go with you. So they drive to the Smith's house, and this is the part that was so weird. I guess they were trying to show that Daniel Smith, the person that owes them money, was a really bad guy.
Yeah,
Cause
this montage.
he walks out with a dog, and I guess he's like either about to hurt it or kill it because either his girlfriend or someone he knows is behind him screaming like, "Don't hurt my dog, don't hurt my dog." But it was right as they were pulling up, and I was like, this is such a weird way to show that a character is evil. Like you would think some type of subtlety. It was just
The
very
part
odd to
that,
me.
like, threw me was how quickly everything happened. Like, usually a montage will go through the ropes of trying to explain to you what's happening, but it did happen in such a vacuum, and then it zoomed in on Charlie Hunnam's face,
Yeah,
and
his
it tried to
eye.
make you, like, believe that what you were seeing was just so horrible. It took me having to kind of read up on what actually happened. Apparently, they had gone to collect a debt, yes, and they had witnessed this guy killing a dog, basically just beating it up, the guy's girlfriend running outside, trying to stop him. And the mom wasn't upset at the fact, I think they were able to make it home. I don't think she had the stroke there, but she wasn't upset that he was beating up the dog, but actually that that the woman was second guessing him, that like a Christian woman or whatever religion like should have been trusting of him or something to that extent. And so that was what upset the mom so much, and it caused the second stroke, which led to a
Right,
debilitating.
in the episode,
She just
she
dies.
dies.
She
Yeah, she
instantly
dies
dies.
right
Yeah,
there.
but in real life, she had a second stroke, and it wasn't long after that that she does pass away. And then Ed becomes a deep brooder.
Yeah.
So,
Lot of navel gazing. He has a funeral. He's in a rocking chair and he hears his mom's voice. He's digging up a middle-aged woman's body. This is at the
oh,
very
we
end.
see this?
Yes.
This is in the first
No,
episode.
yes, no. This ends. I think the final 10 minutes kind of don't have any real words to it, but it's Ed. He's digging up a middle-aged woman's body. He's washing her like he was earlier in the episode when he was dealing with his mom, and then strips her down.
Right.
Looks at her, puts her in the rocking chair. So obviously, this is supposed to be kind of like a replacement to his mom, even though she's dead.
Pure psycho.
And that's where it ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a couple questions then. Hunnam's acting,
Yep.
because if you look at Evan Peters and Cooper Koch and Nicholas Chavez, who played Dahmer and the Menendez Bros,
Yeah.
they were all like given accolades by
Huh.
the way they performed. Hunnam, it's been more, I would say the reception has been mixed.
Okay, here's the thing. I think that really this is one of the worst shows of the year. And I think that one of the biggest problems is Charlie Hunnam's accent in this. I mean, I'm sure that Ed Gein probably had a
Ed
weird
Gein.
voice. Ed Gein had a weird voice, but Charlie Hunnam's delivery and voice, he makes Amanda Seyfried's in The Dropout or Julia Garner's voice sound exemplary.
Do you want, yeah, oh, I know what you're talking about.
This rivals Brad Pitt in Snatch or Tommy Wiseau in The Room as being one of the worst that I've ever heard in a movie or TV
His
series.
self-description of it is Elmer Fudd on half a hit of helium.
He sounds so dopey. I couldn't take anything that he was saying seriously.
Right, but it sounds like he knew what he was doing.
He sounded like a Smiling Friends character.
Yes.
And I couldn't get over it.
So in preparation for the role, there's a couple things with this. A, he lost like 30 pounds. He did one of those things. He's not a method actor, but he certainly likes to get into it.
Right.
And even afterwards, like his girlfriend / partner, they consider themselves married. I did way too much research about this. But she said, don't come home until you've like distanced yourself from your last role. She does that with every single one. And he said, this time it took even more than usual. I had to visit his grave because I was already in Chicago and like say my regards to him and put my goodbyes to that role before I could even like go back home.
I know it took him a long time to get over Jax Teller as well. Yeah.
Interesting. People have pointed out, so like there's not a lot of evidence of Ed Gein's voice anywhere. Because obviously it was at a time they did record an interrogation with him. And so on other documentaries, there are snippets, little parts of his voice. And people were quick to say, this doesn't sound anything like him. So there's that. However, Charlie Hunnam was able to get the full interrogation, not just snippets, and listen to the whole thing. And on the director's advice, which is actually Henry Winkler's son, Max Winkler. He's done other shows that we've done. He did the pilot to School Spirits, Cruel Summer.
I remember his name popped up at the end of this. Yeah.
Grotesquerie. Yeah. So he's the one who actually gave him the idea and said, hey, you should do his accent as best you can.
It was poor advice. I was going to say that this was like the worst thing Charlie Hunnam did, but I think that was terrible.
But I have no way of confirming whether or not it's actually true, because maybe it's an exactly correct accent, but everybody is just lambasting him, who doesn't like it, for something he actually did quite well.
But the thing is that even if that's how he sounded, I
just don't bring it to this role.
Yeah, that's really it. It was so high pitched. Again, like we're supposed to be seeing these horrific things, and I was just laughing every time he was speaking.
It does sound like they want the best of both worlds, because in one instance, a lot of people are saying he didn't have a weird voice and that he didn't have a girlfriend, right?
Yeah, right.
Ryan Murphy gives him a Hollywood actress girlfriend, but also says that he sounds like.
Yes, no, that was actually one of my complaints I had. Adeline, like
Had you ever, like, what do you know of Adeline Watkins?
It's the first person that we see aside from Ed Gein. He actually sneaks into her house and watches her as she's like trying on a bra with her friend Madeline.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
And it was weird because they hear a sound. He runs out the house. They run out as well, and they see that the door was open. And it almost seems like Adeline, at least from the end of the scene, knew that it was him, but she was still okay with it because she's smiling and even has a date with him like 5 minutes later.
So let's explain some stuff.
Yes.
He was arrested for murder, right?
Yeah.
And just like nowadays, you get a lot of people who hear that and they immediately want to jump aboard that bandwagon of media.
Mm-hmm.
And so this lady came out, again, Adeline Watkins, a real person, and she spoke out in an article that said that they had dated for 20 years and that he'd even almost married her.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yes. And then she retracted that a week later. And everything else kind of came into play and said he was so obsessed with his mom. He never dated another woman. He was saving himself for his mom.
Yeah, let me
And so that kind of went to the wayward, and it became more like, oh, we dated for like 7 months here and there, but I never went to his house and we never had any like touching. However, Ryan Murphy heard the first part of that, or sorry, I keep on saying Ryan Murphy. Ian Brennan heard the first part of it and he said, no, let's go with that one. And I do find it funny that they did. Also, she didn't look anything like the Adeline you see here, who is played by Susanna Son. However, Susanna Son has had a lot of horror experience. She was in Fear Street.
I know that also with Ed Gein, we see how he talks to women like a good
Yeah.
10 minutes, and it's awkward. It's weird. I had no idea why, because they never even showed how or why Adeline and him had this connection, at least as far as the TV shows goes. And it seems like things were just there clearly for shock value. Like I said, Ed Gein milks a cow, spies on his crush, then he wears his mother's bra and panties, has a rope around his neck. Like, we don't have to see all this. And it's like at some point, subtlety has to come into play.
Oh, never
Yeah,
in one of these
never
series.
yeah,
Never
and
in a monster series. It's
but
called Monster for a reason.
I don't understand what it is with Ryan Murphy. He got so much flack, as he should have, for the Menendez brothers' incestuous undertones. This, it seems like it's the same
I don't think it
thing.
was undertones in there.
Well, here it's like the same thing.
Right. And you haven't even gotten to the worst of it. We're not going to talk too much about the later episodes, but I will say that there's fourth wall breaks, there's meta critique on what horror is or who should be watching it, imagined events with an unreliable narrator, fabricated affairs, killings, and a redemption arc.
Okay. I don't know. I couldn't even
So if I
possibly
need
guess
to
what that is.
sell it,
Well,
I mean,
here's the thing. The series also just feels so void of direction that after this 53-minute pilot, at the end, it doesn't even hint at where the story is going. That can sometimes be good. In this case, it's really bad. It can't decide what it wants to be, because at times it feels like it wants to be a black comedy. Because I can see how you can maybe have that with the first scene where the mom walks in on him jerking off. Then it feels like it wants to be a horror, a thriller, a murder mystery with the brothers storyline that gets dropped like midway through, more in like kind of the howdunit genre, a drama, all fighting for screen time. And it's fine if they want to have.
you talked about the Nazi stuff at this point? Because this is where I think we should like touch upon it at least.
Right, yeah.
After his mom died and he was like in that place and element, he got obsessed with these pulp magazines. This is true.
Yeah.
And he particularly liked those that involved cannibals, Nazi atrocities, specifically concerning Ilse Koch, who's the person who like would choose the people who would be used to make lampshades from their skin. And I mean, Ed Gein was found with tons of skulls, tons of like skin that was used for different things, including lampshades.
Yeah,
So,
again, there was
and,
that.
and the weirdest part, sorry, but Ilse Koch, I looked this up, was born within the same month as him in 1906.
That is crazy.
That's so crazy. That's so weird. Yeah.
Yeah, but there was that weird dream sequence with the bitch at Butchenwald, which it felt like it was a
That's her.
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. It felt like a scene out of Hunters, where it was like they almost made like kind of what they were doing, because they're bringing in like Jews into the house and like kind of shaving their head and like chasing after them with a whip and a horse.
Right. But the difference between Hunters is you're talking about the chess game episode, which I absolutely despise still to this day. But with this one, it feels like it's at least plausible that Ilse had Jews in her house that she was mistreating like slaves. That's more believable to me than what I saw in the Hunter series.
The story provided, or like when they were dealing with that, provided the only good line of the series, which was when he's reading about the Jews, the concentration camp, the Nazis. That's why I was able to place that this took place in the early 1940s. And someone that's making him a milkshake, because it's when he was in the diner, says, "Don't believe everything you read, Eddie." And I'm pretty sure that was a reference to the 1940s Disney Chicken Little cartoon that was definitely supposed to be not a parody, but kind of like definitely supposed to be about Hitler, and Hitler's supposed to play a fox. He says the same thing, "Don't believe everything you read," at the very end of that
You're saying
sketch.
Disney released something that was possibly pro-Nazism?
No, not pro-Nazism. It was trying to warn
Hitler
people
was the
of
fox,
Hitler.
so he's like
yeah,
the
so
snake
he was
and
trying
Adam
to
and Eve.
yes, he was trying to get the
He's
Chicken
trying
Little.
to rile people up.
And at the very end of that sketch, again, it's pretty memorable if you've seen it. He breaks the fourth wall after he's killed Chicken Little. Spoilers. And he says, "Don't believe everything you read," because the narrator is like distraught that Chicken Little has died. I'm pretty sure that was supposed to be a reference to that. Also, this series is meant to be disturbing, and it absolutely accomplishes that in spades. So that's a pro.
And he was a disturbing dude. I mean, the judge, this is what the judge said. He said, Ed lives in his fantasy world where he is unable unable to appreciate the criminality of his acts. He was not found guilty for any of the murders. He was sent to live in a mental institution for 10 years. Then they thought they'd cured it, but in the end, his motive was still that he thought he was an instrument of God. He wanted to be a woman. He wanted to resurrect his mother. So he spent the entirety of the rest of his life at least locked up, but not in a prison scenario.
Now that you say wanted to be a woman, I definitely see where the Silence of the Lambs connection comes into play. Also,
right, he would also, this is the grossest part, but he would like moisturize the skins and stuff to make sure that it stayed. And the whole deal with Buffalo Bill was like the lotion on the, yeah. So it's no surprise that people are still disgusted by this dude.
I'm going to probably give this series a 2.5 out of 10. This is the lowest show score that I've given a show, I think, this year. It's just, I mean, the shock value is clearly there for no other reason than to make the audience disgusted. I think there were really bad lines. There was times where it was even hard to see. It felt like dark scenes where I couldn't tell what was going on, especially inside the house where Charlie Hunnam, like during the rocking chair scene, I couldn't like decipher what was happening on screen.
Too dark?
Some of the lighting, yeah, was a little bit off. And so for that reason, yeah, 2.5 out of 10. And I say that as a fan of Charlie Hunnam. I definitely think he can helm his own series. This was just not it.
I mean, I'm sort of curious what you'd think of the rest of the show, because the first episode, as much as we want to diss it, it did, again, stay kind of truthful to certain events, and it didn't show what it ended up being, which was super meta. Like, I can't ruin things, but like all the reviews, let me just read this isn't going to spoil anything, but these are the reception of the reviews. So Time gave it this one. It said, Monster, the Ed Gein Story has nothing but contempt for its audience. IndieWire said, Monster Season 3 review, even Ed Gein doesn't want you to watch this story. Slant said, Monster, the Ed Gein Story, shock over substance, a collider. It's 2025, Ryan Murphy. Please stop making these serial killer sob stories. Guardian, 1 star. It is not. This thing's been panned.
Yeah, I mean, like, deservedly so. The story is just so sluggish. It's so gross. It's so disgusting.
Then who's it made for? Because
I don't know. That's a great question.
Well, this is what I'm going to argue, is that it's made for the same people who were so into it when it first happened. I mean, the story was sticky in the news for a while. The first article said police had arrested him. They thought he had killed this 58-year-old lady. They were sure of it because she was hung up in his barn. But he then, when he finally confessed, he raised his hands like claws and snarled, I've been killing for 7 years. Like, that is something you would think you'd see in a horror film.
Oh, no, like, here's the thing. The premise on Ed Gein is fine, but
like, you can see why it turned into Psycho and Leatherface and all those other
No, it has a promising premise.
It's
like,
just,
I don't have a problem that they made this into a TV series, but it's just Ryan Murphy or Ryan Murphy adjacent can never make things subtle, and oftentimes the show comes at a cost to that.
Right. Which director, I'll leave it on this, which director, Wes Craven, David Cronenberg, Jordan Peele, or Werner Herzog tried digging up Ed Gein's mom?
Tried digging up?
Like he did. So he tried to dig up his own mom because he's a grave robber. Like, that was his big thing.
That's what they show at the end of the first episode.
Yes, but he did that like with a lot of bodies. So the question is, and he was never able to get to his mom.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But was he? Like, no one knows 100% for sure.
Okay,
so one of these directors wanted to.
I don't think it was Wes Craven, because I just can't imagine him doing that. Jordan Peele feels way too recent, and I don't even think in any of the movies that we talked about he was there.
It could have been a joke.
Who was the last one?
Werner Herzog.
Okay, I don't believe that. I think David Cronenberg sounds crazy enough where that might be the answer.
It was Werner Herzog.
It was Werner Herzog?
Yeah, him and this other guy were going to do it, and then the other guy backed out, and so Werner Herzog couldn't. But he was all aboard. He wanted to make sure that Ed Gein hadn't dug up his mom at some point. You know? They didn't know. She was cemented in to her grave, so that's why they think that he didn't. But there's only one way to find out. So this is a really disturbing show. I wouldn't recommend it unless you're way into Ryan Murphy series already. Then check it out. But thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.